Welcome to Falcons Ledge. I'm Stringer, and today we are going to be doing a video about the versatility of the VKB Gladiator EVO. And I've got the two types of stick mounting, the OTA and the standard, pardon the standards extension. That's actually for the 3D printed one, but it should work all the same. So let's go over each one of the configurations, and we're going to go through this rather quickly so that I can show you the different possibilities. Right now, we have the gimbal set up as a throttle, meaning that when the stick is moved on the Y-axis, that it will stay wherever it's put. The clutches are tightened down. So the clutch is tightened down, the block-off plate is installed, as you can see right here, and we're going to show you how to create a helicopter collective first. So in order to do that, we're going to fish this cable through, and I recommend using VKB's little tube that they provide you. That's this one right here, but I'm going to do it without, because that's how I roll. And this is extended, so it won't exactly fit perfectly. So I'm gonna get that all the way through and get this aligned with the gimbal. All right, so I'm not gonna put the three screws. The three screws, that's these right here, go right through here. So I'm just going to be showing you as a demonstration how the collective would work. So now we've got that set up. Like I said, go over again, the block-out plate and the Y-axis has no spring, clutches tightened, okay? And so this is how the collective would work. You move it into the position you want and it stays there, okay? The Z-axis is not locked out on this particular one, but as you can see, it is right here. So you would lock the Z-axis out, you would lock the X-axis out, so that doesn't move. So there is your collective. Pretty cool, huh? So that's how the collective works. Now, since the throttle, the classic aviation throttle, would be configured in the same way, we're going to remove this. Be very careful not to let anything catch. Okay, and we are going to install the throttle. That is the OTA throttle grip. And for this one, we will go ahead and use the VKB provided sleeve. Okay, VKB provided sleeve is in. We'll poke that through. Guide it through the center. All right, there we are. Once that is seated, so I've made sure that the bottom of the stick is seated right at the bottom of the tube. Now we can go ahead and pull that out. I'm not going to connect it for this purpose. I'm just going to tuck it in there. Okay, so this is the aviation throttle. And that's going to behave just the same as the collective did, except for how you hold it. So again, we've locked out the X-axis, we've clutched the Y-axis, and we've removed this spring. In addition, on this one in particular, the Z-axis is locked out, so we can't twist the stick either. So that is the aviation throttle. Let's move on to the next one. Since this is the last one that has this particular configuration of the lockouts and everything, we're going to try a new one. All right, so we've now installed the tube back. And with a little bit of pressure on the tube, you can just go back to the back of the joystick and kind of pull on it. And now that all comes out. All right, so for the next one, we are going to be doing a space throttle with the Y-axis being clutched. Okay, so we're not going to put a spring on this one, but we are going to remove this plate here. So let's move this really quick. I will be demonstrating some of these setups in the upcoming review. Not all of them though. These have a bit of a, require a bit of torque to get them out and in. Which is a good thing. I mean, this is locking out one of your axes, so. Axes, I don't know, sometimes I use both. All right, and while we're at it, while we're removing things, let's remove the lockout from the Z-axis on here. The only time I use the lockout for the Z-axis is actually when I do a helicopter collective. Other than that, I don't really do that. So let's get this lockout plate removed. All right, so now we have the Y-axis moving again, and we have the Z-axis, so we're good to go. So what we're going to do is we are going to, now this is going to work in both configurations. If you want it to, you can use the OTA, which we'll install here. Okay, so there's the OTA. We will get that in, get it fully seated again, and pull that out. Okay, so we're going to use the OTA this time. This would be for a space sim where maybe you prefer the standard throttle type of an aviation aircraft where it leaves it where you want it to go. Now that's really nice if you're looking to avoid pilot fatigue in your dogfights or when you're flying, if you don't have a separate throttle axis or something. In that case, like something like Star Citizen, I'd probably use this as the absolute speed limiter. And then this, of course, would change your throttle position within that limit. In this case, you still have the X-axis that returns back to center. You have the Y-axis that acts as your throttle. And then you have the Z-axis, which would have your thrust up and down. So up and down, right and left, throttle forward, throttle back. Great setup, wonderful setup, great for use in space sims. I will go ahead and we will go ahead and skip putting this in there because it's the exact same scenario as I just showed you, where you can leave your throttle wherever you want it, and then your X-axis still behaves normally and your Z-axis behaves normally. So that would be the space throttle, right? But my preference in space sims is actually fairly similar, but not quite the same. So we're going to go ahead and adjust this. Most of the time I prefer number 30 springs. Sometimes I will go with number 40s, but number 30s are the ones I usually run on my left hand. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this spring in here. What we do is center our axis and pull these together. We're going to take the tool provided by VKB. We're going to hook it over one of the spring perches. We're going to pull till that's on, and then just unhook that from the spring. So now we've got a spring on the Y, spring on the X, clutches on both. The clutches, my preference on clutches is so that I can move it all the way to its extent, let it go, and it will center without any rebound. That isn't a particular desire because, you know, that is that type of movement right there is desirable. It's because that just tells me that the dampening forces are right where I want them. They're not too strong that it limits my ability to snap change, right? I can still go from maximum to maximum without any problem. What it does is that's just where I've discovered is best. Now, we are gonna have to adjust this because you may have noticed something. that clutch is a little too tight. So let's adjust that clutch so that it's right. The Y-axis actually has two clutches. There's a clutch over here, this screw, and there's a clutch over here. The X-axis has only one clutch, and that's that one right there. So if we get our trusty tool here, we will do a half a turn on both, just to check it. Usually I go by half or full turns. Okay, so let's see if that did it. It's still a bit slow. What we want to do is match this right there. Okay, so we're going to do another half of a turn. You can do it only on one. If you're getting real close, you can just do it on one of the two clutches. Okay, so we just did a half a turn on both of those. Okay, almost there. Let's do half a turn on one clutch. Pretty close. We're gonna call that good because we're now getting good centering forces. Just because I'm a bit of a perfectionist on this, I'm gonna do one more half a turn on the other side. And I am making sure to put the cable in a place where it's not getting pinched. Just for those of you out there that might want to point something like that out. There's you. Now we've got about the same movement. Now you don't have to do the same movement on all of your axes. I just like it to be that way. So we've just made it into a space Omni throttle, I'll call it. Perhaps that's not really the best term for it. I don't know. I like it this way because I like to have forward thrust, reverse thrust, and then my right, left, up and down. In the other throttle method, the best solution for that would be a single throttle axis with a button that you push to change between forward and back. I like this setup because I also have a throttle. I also have a throttle there, and that throttle is what's going to change my, I don't use this for my absolute speed limiter, I use the throttle for it. So when I change between cruise and non-cruise mode, that's what really dictates that. When I'm in cruise mode, then I use the forward and back thrust here. When I'm in cruise mode or non-cruise mode, I use the speed limiter, or maybe it's the other way around. Anyway, this is one more configuration, and again, you could use the vertical stick for that as well if you would like to. Since we have this set up in this particular way, we are going to convert this now from our space throttle, and you guys are just going to have to use your imaginations here and imagine that this is a right-handed stick, because it's not. I was going to buy the adapter, the correct adapter, which is this piece down here that goes up in here. But unfortunately, the shipping was as much as the part, so I couldn't order it. I was going to, for this review, to fly this with the right hand. I couldn't do it. The shipping was too much. Maybe if I end up ordering some more parts from them, I'll add that one in there to combine the shipping. So at any rate, let's fish this down through here, because the next configuration is one that all of you should be quite familiar with, and that is because it is the standard stick configuration. So let's fish this through nicely and carefully. Don't want to damage any of my soldering points there. That is not something you will have to worry about in the default configuration of this stick. All right, so here we are. This is the standard stick configuration where you're going to have all of your, you could call this the side stick configuration or just your regular joystick configuration. So this is another one that you could use. So yeah, that configuration is that one. So let's go to another one. This one is a fun one. One that a lot of people haven't really realized that they can do with this stick, and I'm excited to show it. So we're gonna go in here and we are gonna hook over our springs, and we're gonna pull off both springs. Okay, there's one. We're gonna come in here and we're gonna grab this other stick or spring off of here. And there's two. But uh-oh, we seem to have a bit of a problem. This stick is super floppy. We don't want that now, do we? Nobody wants a floppy stick. Some people might like floppy sticks. Not judging. All right, so we are going to tighten these y-axis ones by 1.5 turns each. Okay, and then we're going to check our y-axis. Does the y-axis stay where we want it? It does. Now you can change the amount of strength it takes to, I'm going to actually loosen these up just slightly because they took a lot of force. I do like a bit more force in my collective, but this is a cyclic, so we want it to just barely stay exactly where we put it. And that x-axis needs a little bit of tightening. Okay, that's about the same amount of force for each axis. Now, this is a helicopter cyclic, which, you know, with the release of the Apache, the helicopters have been quite popular, so now this is going to behave just like a helicopter cyclic. Pretty freaking awesome, is it not? I haven't used it in this mode very much. I have a Gunfighter Mk.III with a 200mm extension, and so the clutches can just be overpowered by the extension, and especially when it's got an MCGU on it right now. So that is the helicopter collective. So let's loosen these up just a little bit because helicopter collective is just too much. All right, so that is the different configurations that you can use for this Gladiator NXT EVO and how to configure each one of them. I also went over how to set up your clutches to a point in which my opinion is the best settings for those particular setups. Again, if you're curious, my ideal clutch settings would be for the helicopter collective or the helicopter cyclic. I would set it so it stays wherever you put it, and then kind of from there it's whatever your desires for difficulty is. And for all of the other methods, I prefer to have the stick rebound to center without, or come back to center without rebounding, so it doesn't go like this. And that's as much as I need it to do. I don't tighten it beyond that because I still want to be able to flick the aircraft around or spacecraft. But anyway, tell me what you think about this. I had a fun time going through and disassembling these sticks and getting used to how everything works. But I hope that you liked it. We are doing a giveaway when we reach 2,500 subs. We are actually nearing that now, so yeah, get to commenting. The requirements for it are you just need to make a comment that's relevant to the discussion. If you make comments that are just like obligatory post or something like that, it's not going to win the prize. In fact, when I do the video to show the prize, you might actually see one of these comments and I will pass it over and go to another one. But anyway, we do have the VKB Gladiator NXT EVO review coming up. That's going to be the next video that gets posted after this one. And then the video after that is going to be a redo of the unboxing for the VKB Gunfighter MCGU stick, because unfortunately I had done this video before already, and I had done that video, and the camera, yep, looking at you camera, decided to rotate the entire image 45 degrees and show a bunch of stuff that wasn't supposed to be on the screen. So I had to throw all the footage away. So yeah, that's coming. It's gonna be awesome. Looking forward to it. You guys fly safe and have a great day.